Some years ago on CricBuzz, I did a couple of blogs on Virat Kohli. In one of those, I wanted to see if he could get to 100 hundreds. And in the other, I said if he has to do justice to his career, his average cannot go under 50. Now, at the moment, both of those are looking a little tough given his current vein of form. But I still think when India go to Australia, Virat Kohli is the player to watch out for. And I know some of you might be thinking, there he goes about Virat Kohli. What about his current form? And I've looked at the numbers and it's a valid assumption to make because in the last 5 years, 34 in test matches, he's only got 200s. He's averaging a little over 32, 33 in that region. Against New Zealand, averaged 15. And in all fairness, I saw a lot of that series. He looked vulnerable. When Virat Kohli goes out to bat, he owns the space. He looked a little vulnerable. So you're absolutely valid in saying, why is he talking about Virat Kohli again? But there's two reasons that my eyes will be on Virat Kohli once this series against Australia starts. One's got to do with a familiarity. One's actually got to do with two sets of numbers that I have looked at. At the turn of this year, when he was still going through a little bad patch, India went to South Africa, played on really spicy pitches. Virat Kohli made 76 and 46 in two of those innings. One of those test matches, South Africa were bowled out for 55. Then I looked at some numbers that Ben Jones, a stats person who's very rigorous with his numbers, has looked at. And he said, even in the last 5 years, if you look at Kohli against pace, and pace defined as balls over 140 kilometers an hour, he still averages in excess of 100. And he's still number one on that list. And the reason I brought this stat out is when people are coming towards the end of their careers, there's three things that can happen to them. One is the desire can dull. With Virat Kohli, the desire will never dull. One is the eyes can go. But if you're still averaging like that against extreme pace, the eyes are okay. Or the legs can go. But you look at Virat Kohli in the field, wow, those legs are still fine. So I'm still a little optimistic. And then there is the other factor about just liking playing cricket in a certain part of the world. Virat Kohli averages 54 in Australia against a career average of 47, 48 now. He scored more runs in Australia than any other Indian player. And the parallel I want to draw is with Rahul Dravid, who every time you were going to England, you thought of Rahul Dravid, did you? Towards the end of his career, he made one more trip to England. He even opened the batting. He made 300s over there. Sometimes you go to a country that you like playing in, and suddenly everything just switches into place. With Virat Kohli in Australia, it is a bit like that. I mean, you look at some of the great performances that Virat Kohli has had over his career. And let's look at those in Australia. Starting with that first 100 in Adelaide, when he was almost left out of the preceding test match in Perth, only just got a game in, Dhoni showed faith in him, got 100 in Adelaide. Then he went back in 2014. Wow. Those two innings in Adelaide, part of folklore in that first test match. He made 692 runs in that series in 8 innings is sensational. Then in 2012, when we first thought he's going to be a great player, that stunning takedown of Lasith Malinga in Hobart. And then, of course, that century, 2018 in Perth, he got 123. People still talk about it. It was one of the best innings he's played in his career. An innings in difficult conditions against quality pace. Wow, if you saw that innings, you haven't forgotten it. Then that 100 at the World Cup in 2015, that even more recent, in Melbourne 2022, that innings against Pakistan. I know it was only T20, but it all adds up to memories. You go to a place that you like playing in, and suddenly everything comes good. So it's very important for India that Virat Kohli does well in Australia because he's a talismanic player. You know, there are some players who by their performance either lift the entire side or can almost drag the side down. You got a player like Shubman Gill, very good player starting out. Shubman Gill has a bad series. It's not good for India, but the entire dressing room is not down. Virat Kohli has a good series, just lifts the entire dressing room. A champion like Virat Kohli is struggling and suddenly everyone's saying, Ye kya ho raha hai? What's happening with Virat? Why is he struggling? It just brings the mood down. And that is why I said he's a talisman. Virat Kohli does well. This series looks very, very different for India. Is this a make or break series for Virat Kohli? It's very tempting to feel that way. but I'm not so sure whether I want to go that far. Yes, it will have a significant bearing on his career if he has a bad series, but we'll just wait and see what happens because I just think he needs to play more cricket. I'm not sure if you're coming to the end of Kohli. I think when you come to a stage in your career, when you come to a certain age, the more you play, the better you are. The less you play, the longer it takes to get back into rhythm. And my friend Abhideep has come up with some very interesting numbers about Virat Kohli. When he is playing a lot of one-day international cricket, he's doing very well in Test cricket too. When he's not playing one-day internationals, he's not doing well in Test cricket. Even if you look at the last 5 years, you look at his career before that, played a lot of one-day internationals, did very well in Test cricket. In the last 5 years, which was his best year? 2023, I know it was skewed by a couple of performances, but that's okay. That happens to everybody. Was also the year in which he played a lot of one-day international cricket. Now, what's the correlation? When he's playing one-day cricket, lots of one-day cricket, he's playing a lot of cricket. He's now retired from T20 cricket. And even if you play a lot of T20 cricket, you're not playing long innings in there. When Virat Kohli is playing well in one-day internationals, he's playing 100, 120 balls. And that is what you need to do well in Test cricket. So I think it's a big series for Kohli. Big series for Kohli is big series for India. But I'm not yet ready to call this a make or break series. I'm not yet ready to say maybe this is the end of Virat Kohli.
So thank you for watching and do subscribe to this channel.